Everybody, we're so glad to see everybody on this week, and we have a lot to cover this week, right, Zenka?
Yes.
A lot to do. And we can't wait to hear how everybody's week went. This was sort of a interesting week. We got a lot of feedback, so we can't wait to do our breakout groups to hear from everybody exactly how committing to the truth and breathing to avoid reacting worked for everybody. But before we do that, we are going to do our drop-in with Zenka to sort of gather our thoughts and get sort of our intention for tonight. And then after that, we have our special guest tonight, which is Dr. Tracy Freeman, who many of you might know because she is the Chief Medical Officer here at BB&R. And Tracy will be with us tonight and next week. And tonight she's going to be talking about how to care for ourselves beyond washing our hands. So that'll be a really quick presentation, and then we'll go right into this week's breakout groups. Okay, Zenka.
Okay, here we go, guys. Starting the 1 minute.
Thank you. Doro, are you there, Doro?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, there she is. There she is. I didn't say Doro's here, and Liz is here too. So I thought maybe Doro and Liz, you guys want to quick say hi?
Hi. Hello, everyone.
There they are. So, okay. So, all right, Dr. Tracy Freeman, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready. Let me just share my screen really quickly.
Everybody meet Dr. Tracy Freeman.
All right, there we go.
And I should give you an introduction. You know, Tracy, as I said, is our BB&R Chief Medical Officer, but beyond that, Tracy is an accomplished functional doctor. And she really believes, right, Tracy, that the body has so much wisdom, and when it finds its equilibrium, it can really heal and heal itself. So she really is probably one of the greatest detectives we know in terms of helping people figure out how to get their body back in balance. So anyway, you can read more about Tracy, but we're just so proud to have her as part of our team.
Oh, thank you. I'm happy to be here too and enjoy working with you guys. So can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Yes, good. Okay, so the title of the talk is Beyond Hand Washing, because in the COVID era, people are always asking me, what are natural things you can do to prevent COVID? And of course, washing your hands is clearly the front runner. But then there are other natural things we can do to support the immune system as well. So just to evidence on natural things, the point of this slide is to say there really isn't much, right? We have some early data because this is a novel virus, meaning new to us. We are really kind of learning as we go and throwing out in a lot of data points, but we really haven't gotten to the point where we have data like we do for other diseases, where there's randomized controlled trial, multi-center studies. We don't have that. So that's just to put it in perspective. So the goals are to fight the virus, to lower your inflammation, and to support the immune system. Certainly, in case you haven't heard, there's no disease that exists without inflammation. Inflammation is part of the disease process. So the supplements, and I'm sure many of you have heard of these, I would say zinc picolinate. You've heard of zinc, I think, with coronavirus, but the picolinate is the form of zinc that's been found to be most absorbed. So if you were to give subjects zinc and then test their blood, the one that got the highest blood levels was the zinc picolinate. Typically the dose is 25 to 30 milligrams. You can go up to 50. Some people do 75, but it's a little nauseating at first. So you kind of have to get used to it. It turns on about 300 reactions in the body. So when you send that in, you kind of turn up your metabolism, and that's a decision. You have to be ready for that. You have to get used to that a little bit. So typically I'll tell patients to start every other day for a week and then to do it daily after that. And if it's nauseating, to take it with food. If you're someone who has low energy in the mornings, you want to take it in the evening because there's some evidence it lowers cortisol. And the evening time is when cortisol, meaning the hormone, your adrenals, the glands that give you energy, make very much high amounts in the morning. And then it goes down in the evening like the sun. You want to probably align with that if you're low energy, to give it in the evening so that it can exist with your low levels of cortisol at that time. Vitamin C speaks for itself. You know, it's one of the most potent antioxidants, meaning protecting yourself from oxidation or damage. And it certainly has some antiviral potency on its own. Melatonin has been shown to help. You know, melatonin is used for sleep. The trick with melatonin is when you take it for sleep, the 0.5 milligram dose to 1 milligram dose is what works. But when you take it in higher doses, many people will find they go through the sleep cycles very quickly. And then they wake up early, like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, not feeling tired, feeling alert, but realizing you haven't gotten enough sleep. So in that case, for sleep, less is more. For inflammation, doses have gone all the way up to, there are people doing 200 milligrams in the case of cancer and things like that. In that case, you want to use a sustained release so you can still get your rest. Elderberry is a fruit that, a berry, just like it sounds, that tastes pretty yummy actually, and is naturally antiviral. There was even a case that was written in the newspaper out of Europe where a woman who was HIV positive drank gallons of elderberry juice a day, and she seroconverted to HIV negative.
Wow.
Certainly, vitamin D is the king next to zinc, I would say, because we know that. But the data we have on the sick, the people who end up in the ICU or who pass away, the thing they have in common is low vitamin D. So that we believe that the people whose vitamin D levels are good are the people who will maintain and not end up on a ventilator. The dose for functional medicine, meaning not just the dose the FDA says to prevent rickets, but the dose you need to like really sustain yourself and be optimal. If the way to calculate that is to take your weight in pounds and multiply it by 35, and that'll give you a daily dose. And of course, vitamin D, you take it one handful. Say on a Sunday, you could take all 7 days worth at one time. It's fat soluble. You won't pee it out like a vitamin C. So you can do it whichever way works for you. And then quercetin is what I use in my practice, similar to, say, in medicine, anything that would require maybe a light steroid or Benadryl. It really tells the immune system to relax. In this case, it's being studied in conjunction with zinc. Now, we haven't gotten the conclusion yet on how well it works, but it looks like quercetin plus zinc work very well together for the coronavirus. It's believed that quercetin helps zinc get into the cell, and then in turn, the virus doesn't do very well with zinc. And then vitamin K and potassium have also been studied. They've been found to be low in those with COVID. So potassium, we should have a decent amount if you just eat your fruits and vegetables. And vitamin K1 is what they found. We're missing vitamin K1, 100 milligrams a day. And so now we're going to talk about supplements that lower inflammation, kind of that part 2. So that was kind of like, how can we protect ourselves? And this is kind of across the board. When this pandemic is over, these will be good things anyway. So we have curcumin and turmeric. Of course, curcumin comes from turmeric. It's extraordinarily anti-inflammatory, has pretty good data for a natural supplement on it. There's about 2,500 on it, again, in terms of like joint pain. Of course, it helps in that matter, but it also just tells them in a place of peace. Quercetin again lowers inflammation. Way often you'll see that with bromelain. Bromelain is a pineapple, which is great if you're not allergic to pineapple. The dose of that can be 500 to 1,000 milligrams twice or 1 to 3 times a day. If someone has a rash or something, I might hit it really hard when high doses, like just 1,000 milligrams 3 times a day. And oftentimes in a day or two, the rash will leave. Likewise, if someone just generally has allergies, you can just take a standard dose just to keep it down. The point being, it tells the immune system to relax. Ginger also works. Of course, you can just eat ginger. If you want to just take a pill, 500 to 1,000 milligrams once or twice a day. Ginger and turmeric are synergistic as well. So ginger and turmeric are excellent, again, for rashes, for eczema, things of that nature. It tells the immune system to relax. Fish oil just wins the prize. I think if anyone's kind of in an acute pain situation or the acute stiffness, if you take a high dose of fish oil, it tends to put the fire out. So I will tell, for instance, my patients with stiff joints to give a try of 5,000 milligrams. That's like a handful of fish oil, to take it once a day for 3 days. And oftentimes the joint will loosen up. I've seen frozen shoulder many times loosen up with a high dose fish oil. And lastly, and this isn't all, there's plenty of other things, but these are like top ones for me. Resveratrol. So resveratrol is famously from red wine, but also in Welch's grape juice. So has been discovered to have equally, they just studied red wine versus Welch's grape juice in terms of its cardiovascular risk and its equivalent. But of course, the red wine has its bonuses. So resveratrol, actually a better source of that is the Japanese knotweed, which you can, if you're going to take it in a supplement form, that's, if you look on the back on the label, oftentimes it'll have a Japanese knotweed in it, but a picture of grapes on the front, because that's what everyone relates to. And Japanese knotweed has a better concentration of resveratrol. And so then supplements that kind of boost your immune system. Astragalus is a biggie. It is used to kind of fight things if you catch them early, because it gets your immune system up and running. It is not a good idea if you have autoimmune things. Obviously, you don't want your immune system to get up and running in those cases. Or if you have asthma, something where your immune system's on a roll, and turning it on would turn it in the wrong direction. So you would not do astragalus or any of these things in those cases. But for anyone else, the astragalus is does a great job of getting your system up and running and fighting its battles. Probiotics are always important because the gut is where the bulk of the immune system is. So if you think of what to do to support your immune system, as weird as it sounds, it really is focused on your gut, because 75% of the immune system lines your gut. I typically tell people to take a minimum of 25 billion a day, and then it's not that much, because these are microscopic beings, really, or bacteria. And then selenium also. Selenium's beautiful for the thyroid, beautiful for the immune system, but our soil is just lacking. If you can, 100 to 200 micrograms, not milligrams, of selenium is helpful. Angiograph is another amazing herb that helps to build up your immune system, very antibacterial, viral, all those things. But it has like a 99% of people tolerate it well. 1% will take it and get a rash. And if you do, you just stop it and the rash will go away. But like 400 milligrams of that once or twice a day is a good steady dose. And then there are plenty of mushrooms. If you're not mushroom sensitive, turkey tail is nicely antiviral. Reishi gets the immune system going up. Maitake's been shown to kill cancer. In fact, I think all of these have, but maitake for liver cancer. So they really do get the system up and going. The trick with mushrooms is you need them to be organic. They will definitely take in all that's around them. So if they spray pesticides on them, it's going to go deep into the mushroom, and then therefore deep into you. And garlic. So nothing lives in garlic. I swear, if your stomach can stand it, garlic is by far the thing that just keeps all nastiness away. It's of course great for the circulatory system and the cardiovascular system, but nothing bad can exist. It's an excellent fungal, antibacterial, antiviral, all of that. So an excellent one if you can tolerate it. It also lowers blood pressure brilliantly. Now, of course, I think that is my last slide, and of course it won't move forward, but this part is, do you have any questions? So.
God, no, thank you for that. I think, what's so fascinating is that there is so much that we can do to keep ourselves healthy during this time of extreme stress. And thank you for those supplement choices. On the garlic, are you saying real garlic or supplements as well? Are they
either one, whatever you can get in? Honestly, of course, fresh is better, but it's not palatable, right? You have to be someone like me who doesn't mind chewing fresh garlic, but most people of fresh garlic chopped up with a teaspoon of raw honey 3 times a day for a couple of days tends to wipe things out. And I'm sorry, I did have one more slide. Okay. It really was about her, not do the thing you just did, which kind of breathe and relax and kind of tune in, all the things that help to get your body to maintain that kind of sense of self and homeostasis that you need to ward off what's around you. Sleep for sure might be priority one and something that eludes so many people.
Yeah, maybe next week we can talk about that because I
Yep.
know people have a lot of questions on that. Well, thank you, Tracy. That was amazing, really amazing. So thank you. And thanks for joining us tonight.
Yeah, my pleasure.
Hey, Alex. Zenka, we ready?
Okay, yeah, so I just put the question that we're going to be answering today in the chat so everybody can read that. And just a reminder to assign a timekeeper and a reporter for each group. And we'll see you in about 25 minutes. Thank you, Tracy.
That's great, Tracy. You're welcome.
Okay, so Alexandra, go ahead.
Okay. So I want to share a poem that I found while we are, in this, we want to step up for ourselves. And I thought this would be nice to share. So it's from the singer and writer Jewel, if you know her. I know what's best for me above all others. Finally, I reserve the sacred right to redefine myself at will. I can stand in my own power and not make myself small for anyone to make them feel safe. I will shrink myself no longer to make any human being feel secure. I spend a lifetime being small for those closest to me, but this is not the woman my son will know. My son will see my new shape, my intuition speaking loudly. He will see a woman integrated, a businesswoman, an artist, a nerd, an intellect, a heart, for I am all these things. I am a woman and whole human.
Very cool. Growing into our larger selves as we become more secure and honest. That's awesome. Okay, guys, Doro, who did you have in your group as your spokesperson?
That's me, Katie. Yeah.
Go for it, Katie.
So we talked about these two principles. The two really did go hand in hand. But to kind of break them up a little bit, truth and committing to the truth is very important. We discussed that criticism is really hard to hear. but it allows you to express your needs clearly. When you give this principle, you tend to receive it in return. Speaking the truth in personal relationships is harder than in professional relationships. But when you are able to do that, it can potentially help clear the air when you have misunderstandings with people. We try not to hurt people's feelings in relationships when we lie, but people know when you lie. And so committing to the truth is, since the people know that you're lying, you should commit to the truth. And when you're able to practice this principle, it's liberating. Breathing before reacting allows you to employ this principle. And for some, it can make their partners calmer. And it is a great technique for mothers to get through the parenting struggles of having children.
Awesome. Thanks, Katie. The Co-Mindfulness crew, Trisha,
Yeah.
who's your spokesperson?
Katie.
With a
Katie
few
on our-
nuggets.
Yeah.
All right. Katie.
The other Katie.
The other Katie.
We had a really great conversation, and also how these certainly go very hand in hand. We spoke a lot about living your truth and, letting others know what is important to you. And also how committing to truth is your truth. So it might be someone else's truth. Theirs might be different, but, a lot about committing to the truth and how that is, specifically your truth. And ways to kind of face that and think through that. We discussed some tactics such as, even writing letters that might not be sent, just to kind of uncover your own truth and think through those. And how asking open-ended questions, is so important, not just yes or no questions, but open-ended questions, and, brace yourself for what the answers might be, and how open-ended questions might, thwart the ability for, conversation to be shut down. We spoke a lot about letting go of expectations and how sometimes, that might even result to things like compromises. So even if you're, letting go of something that you may have expected, some silver lining and good can certainly come from that, that you may not have thought of before, but when you work through together. And even awareness of what communication means. We have someone great in our group who kind of perceived talking as criticism and who really prefers silence. And even if, their partner isn't, maybe the partner's truth isn't criticizing someone, maybe communication can be perceived as such. So even just thinking through what communication means to you and that expectation, and how all of this, the breathing techniques were very much a common thread, and how that can be really important, and how breathing can even be used as an escape, which I found really interesting. But that was pretty much what we spoke about.
Thank you. Uh-oh.
Sorry. Thanks for sharing. That's a common theme tonight. I keep forgetting to mute. My internet's not very great tonight. So we had Stephanie in our group as our cheerleader spokesperson.
Excuse me. Hi, everybody. So we talked about how first breathwork is key. It really gives us the power to get through anything and just reset. Katie, I think you mentioned it definitely with kids. That came up multiple times, and just how it really helps us be the best parents that we can be in more challenging moments. We talked about how with criticism, we're sort of hardwired to respond negatively, but that oftentimes criticism can come from a place of love in the right relationships. And then also how powerful it is to just recognize your own ego when dealing with criticism and being able to step back and just say, oh, like, oh, I'm responding negatively right now, but I don't need to be, essentially. And just being empathetic with yourself in that moment. And then finally, just sort of committing to the truth can be sort of really easy for some of us, and then for others, more of a lifelong process that we have to work on in small steps to make big changes. So that was a big step.
Thank you so much. Yeah, just a few things. Liz, your group, who did you have?
We have Margaret tonight.
Cool.
And we had a really interesting discussion because we had mixed reports on these two principles this week. For some people, they dreaded the week, or they felt like they failed miserably with their partner or with someone during the week, and others felt that they were catching up from last week, but felt it was that these two came in tandem, and that the principles this week were built on the earlier three principles, and that everything up to this point set the stage, which made it very beneficial. And actually that the partner was more acceptable because we were more present. And other people said that they're very honest, and that can, in general, in life and with people in their life, and that can be a good or a bad thing. So we need sometimes to think about doing it gracefully, and they thought they were getting better at that. And some people say that others reported that they're generally honest with their partner in everyday things, so this principle wasn't too hard. And then some people were catching up from last week, but made progress with their expectations. And we had a really lovely quote from Susan from Brene Brown that said, "Clear is kind." And so we talked about that a little bit, and taking a breath, especially dealing with children, if children are your partner, is very helpful. And then we also did talk a lot, like the other groups, about breath, and how taking a breath before if you're going to engage, really helps out and helps you get in the right mindset. And we talked about how some people had breakthroughs earlier with the principles, where others felt this week was kind of a breakthrough. And then at the end, we just talked about how the conversations would go if both partners were engaged in following the principles. So that was interesting. And that's it.
We have one special couple like that that's doing that.
Yeah.
So cool, you guys. So we're going to clip through this last little section because we're going to be taking a midpoint survey. Again, the surveys help this scientific study that we're doing with the University of Wisconsin to really see how effective these principles are in our overall well-being. Again, our theory is that if your relationships are healthy, then that's going to affect actually your physical health. So it's something we want to keep track of, and we're going to give you guys a little bit of time to do that. So next week is holding on to your integrity. So you're going to be doing work on really listing your core values. So what are the values? What are the core things that you admire in other people, right? And that can help you build your list of what things that you care about. So really this week we're going through making sure that that's a whole coherent picture, so that again, you're relaxed and calm in your life because everything is coherent, right? Everything is fitting together. Your buddy call prompt is going to be sharing your core values. So make sure you do that early in the week. And you're going to be telling your buddy the three things that that are your core values. For the group discussion, we're going to be asking things like, are people in your life where you can be truly yourself, and how does it make you feel not to have to spend time and energy questioning and carefully presenting yourself. So I'm going to give the floor quickly to Doro and Trisha so they can talk about the meditation on Sunday and the podcast. And then I will share my screen to make sure everybody knows how to get to that, the questionnaire, and we'll have 3 minutes or 2 minutes at the end to dive into that.
Great. Well, this week and today, the podcast that came out was with a great friend of ours, Laura Kaplan, and it's called She Said, She Said. So she's all about exploring what is the power in each one of us and how we can each be in charge of our own destiny and finding out exactly who we want to be and what that person is that you want that we can present into the world. So we had a lot of fun on that podcast and talking with her or having her on our podcast.
Super appropriate. So
Yep.
again, if you're not a subscriber, you can just Health Good podcast on your favorite, iTunes or Apple or Spotify or even YouTube, and you can find that on every Wednesday. So Doro.
Yeah, and the meditation for this week is forgive yesterday and reset. And I usually pick meditations that speak to what's going on in my life that I think might be helpful to others. So forgive yesterday and reset. And it's a very nice meditation. So I hope you'll join us on Sunday at 8 p.m.
Beautiful.
Okay, great, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and share the screen again. Here's a little quote for this week too. Our self-respect tracks our choices. Every time we act in harmony with our authentic self and our own heart, we earn our respect. It's that simple. Every choice matters. So I would like everyone to open up your Sutra account. And I'm going to guide you how to get to this week's mid-course check-in. It's going to be under the My Progress and Journal here on the left-hand side. And it's going to be under committing to the truth, right? So it's above breathing to void reaction. You're going to go into that week 4 reflection, and it's going to open up this first thing, and you're going to hit the take button. And you're going to go through right now, and we'll just have these few minutes. Now, you can just answer a sentence on the ones where we ask you to fill that in. But again, we've only got 2 more principles to go. So this is your chance to really check in with yourself, assessing yourself. How are you doing? How's it working? What are you learning? And what are you going to do for this last home stretch? And if anybody has difficulty finding it, let me know.
I am having difficulty, Zinga, this is Grace. I see all the different discussions in my file folders that I've saved, but I don't know if I have that exact link.
Okay, perfect.
I don't
So are you
think I
guys,
think
okay, so are you able to log into Sutra or not yet?
not yet.
I just
Okay.
click on some old, sometimes just some old links.
Right, that's fine. Yeah, you can
That's
just go to this. I'm going to type it into the chat. You can always
Okay.
just go to the main Sutra link here, and in the top right hand corner, you can hit login, and that'll take you into your course. There's kind of a specific URL for each group, but this works as well, and it might be easier right now to just go through that direction.
I'm having trouble finding the questionnaire.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so what you're going to do, I'm going to share my screen one more time. So once you're in Sutra, on the left-hand side, you're going to see this dark blue section.
Yep.
And it has each week, the content that we're looking through. And then in this My Progress and Journal at the very, very bottom, you're
Got
going
it.
to open that up. Yeah. And then it's under the committing to the truth section. Now, some of you guys haven't been in here because this is like the online journal, when maybe if you've been doing it in paper or whatever. So this is down here on the left-hand side under my progress and journal under committing to the truth.
Got it.
I don't. I see committing to the truth resources. Oh, is it?
You go down to the bottom where it
Oh,
says
to the
my
discussion. To the
Yeah.
discussion.
No,
Okay.
not the discussion, actually. It's all the way after week 7 in my
Oh,
progress
all the way
and
after week 7.
journal.
Okay, I
Yeah,
got it.
my
Sorry,
progress
sorry.
and journal.
Sorry, Zinka. Got it. So I see week 4, breathing to avoid reacting, reflection. Then week 5, holding on to our integrity. Where in that lineup?
Yeah,
is?
it's above the breathing, so it's committing to the truth week 4.
Can you repeat that one more time? I'm on Sutra now and just trying to find where.
Yeah, sure. So if you go to the left-hand side, you'll see a dark blue menu where you see all the weeks. Do you see week 1 through 7?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, so go to my progress and journal at the very, very bottom after week 7. And then you're going to look for week 4, committing to the truth. And it's going to be nested there. So go to week 4, reflection.
And I see committing to the truth, breathe to avoid reacting, discussion, and then my progress and journal.
Yeah, my progress and journal.
Thank you. Sorry to make you repeat.
No, that's fine. It's hard when you're not on it to remember. So my progress and journal, week 4, committing to the truth. And then go to the reflection.
Thank you. I see it now.